Oh, well, welcome, Allan Manning, Dr. Allan Manning, to our podcast series 3, which I'm very excited about. Allan, thanks firstly for your time. I don't know how busy you are, and to make your time available for this podcast is really appreciated, mate.
Pleasure. Glad to be part of it.
Before we jump in and talk about you, which I know you don't like doing that well, and I know you're a very humble person, but we are going to focus a fair bit of time on you personally. Just wanted to share our thoughts and sympathies for the passing of Peter, mate. We are very, very sad to hear about his passing, and to his wife and 2 boys, and to all of you. I know you were very close to him, and your staff have said wonderful things as well. So he was very important to you, and I just wanted to acknowledge that we're all very deeply saddened.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. He's such a great guy in every respect.
Well, mate,
Yeah.
you've come out and said some wonderful things about him, and he'd be very proud of what you've said and the way that you've conducted yourself. So thank you on behalf of everybody. Moving forward, I'd like to talk about the man behind Allan Manning and how that eventuated. We we do. We do have to start at the very beginning, mate, which when I go back into your resume, it's a little bit further down the road than a lot of people, but you have been around the industry a long time. But before we jump in, I did read an article from 2012 in Insurance magazine, which you were featured as the champion and then even got referenced as a godfather of the industry, which I found quite entertaining. So I'd like
I
to
hope that
see.
was a right?
I'd like to hear a bit more about how you're the godfather. You'd have to be one of the nicest blokes I've ever met, but in a nice way. I'm sure it's meant to be reflected in the way in which you have really pioneered a lot of the insurance industry advocacy work, and a lot of us are very grateful for that. But let's go back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up, Alan, and what's your background? Where'd you grow up? What did you do as a kid? And give us a little bit. Everybody that knows you or knows of you would like to know a little bit about you. So can we just start there?
I was born in Brisbane, inner city suburb, Red Hill.
Yep,
Um,
good suburb.
uh, yeah. So what had happened is that my dad came back from the war, got offered an apprenticeship, became a brickie, built a house in that otherwise very old suburb.
Yep.
Back then, it wasn't like the gentrified thing it is today. So all
No.
the neighbours were great grandparents, not even grandparents. So I went to Ithaca Creek State School and then to Kelvin Grove High School. And then early in my high school years, my dad passed away. So I was 13, and sort of when I was a little for a while, they just worried about that sort of thing. So I went home from grade 12. First, I was at Easter at grade 12. I went home to my mum, must have broken her heart, and told her that I wanted a motorbike and I was going to go off and find a job. And she said I could as long as I could find a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I went off to this Commonwealth Employment Service, the CES, and there was 2% unemployment back then, so it was a lot easier. There was 3 jobs on this guy's desk. I could have been a printer, a carpenter, or an insurance clerk. And very bravely asked him which one paid the most, and it was the insurance clerk by 50 cents a fortnight. So I said I thought I'd become an insurer. So I waltzed in and went through the interview, and they must have been very upset with the current office boy because I jumped that and went straight into claims. He never forgave me because I went to a Kelvin Grove State School and he'd gone to a private school, so he thought he was much better than me.
Ah, of course.
So
Yes.
to jump him was very upsetting. But
Yeah.
I got into claims on day one, met my wife now of 46 years, the day I started work.
Mm. Yeah, I read that.
Uh,
That's a good story in itself.
yeah, so we've been together all the time. And it's been wonderful. 2 loves on one day, 5th of April, 1971.
Yeah, well, that's a great story in itself, and I can only, and I've listened to you before and spoken to you privately on a couple of occasions about your experiences. I mean, you've got to see some very interesting, also very tragic and catastrophic events, but you've also just seen some of the most interesting sides of our industry, and that's probably partly why you're so passionate about it. You've seen it perform its job and what the insurance is supposed to do and how it's really improved or protected lives and livelihoods and all those things that insurance does do. But the LMI story, I think as an insurance broker that I've been now for, I don't know, 17, 18 years, it's one of the first things you think of as a great independent highly qualified and very credible resource on all sorts of levels. Do you want to just talk about the LMI story and how it's expanded and grown so significantly too in the time that you've seen it start, Allan? So let's start at the beginning. How did you just mentioned then how it started? You decided there was a void in the market for what was really client-focused advocacy. Is that how would you describe it?
Well, if a client had forgotten to claim something, as a loss adjuster, we would tell them, we knew the policies well, and we would tell the customer, look, you've forgotten to claim this or whatever. And, I've had cases where you've had the release completed, because I've always been one of those people that take the final release out to the customer. I would never email it or post it.
Yep.
I would take it out, go through the claim settlement so the client would understand it, feel completely comfortable, and that can save weeks of time. You didn't have to write a letter and all that sort of stuff, and the customer knew it. You'd always confirm it in writing so they had a document.
Yep.
But just that face-to-face was so important.
SRG Group, award-winning insurance brokers based in Perth, offer competitive insurance premiums for all businesses. To find out why thousands of businesses use SRG for their insurance needs, go to srggroup.com.au.
Apart from the advocacy, which is obviously how you started in the claims side of things, you almost, I guess you would describe yourself now as a technology company with a training arm. I mean, you've really taken this business to a whole another level, and I know you've got succession plans in place now as well, which is great, and you can talk on that as well if you don't mind. But how did the step forward from being an advocacy service, independent adjusting claims management service, if you like, into what's now what we see online? I use Risk Coach a lot. I know a lot of people do. Your policy comparison, the BI tool. I mean, walk me through all of that. Where did that come from?
Well, look, as a claims adjuster, and even in the claims department, we did not deal with brokers that often, and I learnt that. And I don't really want to be regarded as a claims advocate. I'm not there trying to beat the insurance companies up.
No.
My philosophy and that of the company is that the customers paid a fair premium. They're entitled to a fair settlement under the policy and within the terms of the policy. And if they don't get that, then we will go to fight for them. But our job is also managing the customer's expectation to make sure they're not thinking that this is going to be their salvation.
Yes.
We've got to get back and running as quick as we can. So within a short time, I realised that no one out there would even know that we existed. So we needed the insurance broker to actually let their customers know that in the event of a claim, to get us involved. And ideally, don't wait till it turns to pus. Wait till it, get us out there early so the claim can be set up well so that it runs smoothly from day one, rather than shotguns at 10 paces after 18 months and the client's about to strangle someone, including the broker. So we started dealing with brokers, and I only knew a couple of brokers back then because my role within what was then GAB Robbins was head of a large loss team. So I only had 4 clients, and that was 3 brokers, and they're all Aon and Marsh, and they have their own claims preparation team, so they couldn't use me.
Yep.
So I had to go out and start from scratch. And I realised quickly that the brokers, a lot of brokers, not all, but a lot of brokers were just selling on price and I could see claim after claim where the client was missing out because they'd been sold an inferior product to save a few bucks. Now, what I call copy quoting, the broker would just take the quotes or the current renewal and then find a cheaper price. And I didn't think that was winning for anyone. So I started policy comparison on the kitchen table, literally with an Excel spreadsheet, just doing it. And I had 8 policies on there, and it was only material damage.
Yep.
And then brokers wanted DI. And then every time I'd finish this, some bugger would change his policy. So it was every weekend. And then people wanted farm pack. So I was doing that. And then there was a major claim, and a guy that used to ring me up, he doesn't ring me anymore, thank God, but he used to ring me up every week for advice, had a major claim, and then gave it to a competitor. And I really got pissed. I
don't blame you.
It's not fair. I've been doing all this for nothing, and for not just policy comparison, but all this extra work. So I got up at a conference for a broker group and just said, look, this is the last lot, and I'll be out at Adelaide by Friday. And 3 brokers and Keith Till from the Zurich came up to me and said, you're a bloody idiot for doing this for nothing. You do too much for nothing. And I said, that's what my accountant, my wife told me. Yeah. And they said, put it online. And Keith Till doesn't know to this day how he got $8,000 out of Zurich. And that was seed enough capital for me to employ a consultant to help me build policy comparison. So that was decided to be done in February, and we had it live by the 1st of July, and we launched it in the 2003 NEBA conference.
Yep, I remember that.
Was one of the most exciting times, because as a claims person, usually getting beaten up, but we really had people 5 deep at our booth so interested in this, because that's when the Financial Services Reform Act had come in, and people realised that they needed to have this tool. So I didn't have that in mind when I built it. It was just completely fortunate that it all happened at the same time.
And then from there you kicked on to taking it further. You decided that wasn't enough.
Well, that's right. That's now 25 odds people, plus 3 admin people and IT, a couple of IT people to run that, because there's 1,000 changes a year.
Oh, I can imagine.
In policies, and some of the policies take 3 days to compare. So there's a lot of work, and they do a fantastic, all those, and mainly women, they do a fantastic job. They're usually 15-year experienced claims people or underwriters.
Yep.
And they do a great job. So then the other one was business interruption. We just did claim after claim where the business interruption was wrong.
Yep.
And so I thought, well, why don't we just have an online calculator? But the policies are all different. One policy calls it turnover, one policy calls it this.
Yep.
And we have been an innovative country in our wordings. So we decided that we'd take that online. And again, that was done very, very quickly. We created that, and I employed the first of our full-time employees in IT. There's about 9 or 10 of them now.
Wow.
And she knocked it up. I did it all on Excel spreadsheets, and then she just took that into a website.
Yep.
And then we launched that, and every customer of Policy Comparison took BI Calculator as well.
Yeah. Just back to LMI quickly, succession plan in place. What are you doing, and who's running the show these days?
My son Stephen's taken over. He's done a great job.
Did you just take the reins, or did you pass them to him?
Oh, no, he's been with us since, even when he was still at school, he started with us. But he certainly hasn't just inherited it because he's my son. No. He's gone off and proved himself. He developed our UK operation and did a great job there. It's our second biggest operation now.
Excellent.
And he's highly respected. No one knew me over there. He's done all that himself. He's built his own profile. He does a lot of lecturing. He's helped write a number of books. And he's got the respect of the team here. He took over he's had over a year in the job, took over on the 1st of July last year. And he's done a very good job, which allowed me because the business has become so big. We've got the electronic part, we've got LMI legal, we have now a psychology division because we realise that so many customers are suffering mental health with the claims process. So we have mastering our minds. We have a loss adjusting business. And as you said, we've got our training division, LMI College. Yep. We've got risk management, business continuity. We're across so many different, we don't sell insurance, but we do, and we don't underwrite, but we do everything else in between. We have all the policy drafting. We've got a big team in policy drafters now. So the business is just so diverse that no one person can do it. So I'm looking after bits that I enjoy and allowing me to do the advocacy and write a few more books and transfer all the knowledge before I fall off the perch to the next generation, which is so important to me. And I think that training, it's such a complex product range we've got and such a complex industry. We have to invest in that as an industry. And I want to do my bit as part of that. And then let Stephen do all the stuff that I don't like.
Someone's trying to bash your door down too, mate, from what I can hear there.
Oh, no, we're doing some renovations in the office while...
Yeah, well, as I said to you at the beginning of the show, it looks like you're about to jump out with the chainsaw and start chopping some trees down with your lumberjack gear on there. So.
You're attaching my dress since I'm going into a claim this afternoon. It's going to be cold out.
Oh, dear. I was going to wear a T-shirt, but I thought, no, this is Dr. Allan Manning. I've got to wear white. He's going to have his white coat on, so I'm going to have my white coat on. But
we're
going to run out of time, and we're always going to, but it would be remiss of me not to... ask you, what would your advice be for the younger generation? Steve, you mentioned him, and he's done a great job. We've had good reports about Stephen, and as you know, he's got the job for the right reasons. But there's a lot of younger generation out there, Allan, who know of you, would certainly respect you a lot, and I know that for a fact. But what's your advice to anyone in the industry right now that's probably on their way up, but not quite probably where they want to be just now? But what's your advice to them? And we'll leave them with that sort of thought.
Look, knowledge to me is so important. I built my reputation on just my understanding and never stop learning. Every claim I do, and it's not even the claims that I do, but my staff can bring me a problem that I've never addressed before, and just to constantly be thinking and improving, and not just whinge about it, but if there's a problem, let's fix it. But come up with a solution. Go to your boss with a solution, not with the problem.
Yes.
I think they're the best employees to have.
Yes.
And it's about passion. If you spend a lot of time at work, you've got to enjoy it and take it and be proud of what we do. A lot of people are embarrassed to say they're in the insurance industry. But when you think about what's at stake, we talked about before, what we're doing, how responsible a job we've got, we're protecting our customers and their life's work. It's a very important job. So feel proud of it and get out there with everything, every ounce of passion you can, and make it work. And if you don't have the passion for the industry, then please get out, because you're not you're not welcome here.
Take control of your future. Yeah, but knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, and I think you've demonstrated that. And I've said it before too. It's such an incredible part of your journey in any career, but insurance in particular. The more you can learn, and that knowledge can become a very powerful tool. And you're certainly providing the tools to do that, Allan, with everything that we spoke about with the LMI family. And there's no excuses there. And I know that a lot of brokers rely on it, as I said before. So, thank you. Listen, but on behalf of the industry, I just want to say thank you, mate. You haven't finished yet, so you've got a few decades to go yet. So don't just get too comfy in this strategic job that you've created for yourself. But thank you for everything you've done, particularly in the advocacy space, but the taxes, the way that you are very fair towards insurance companies, but also very accountable, holding them very accountable at times, and really just being such a passionate, positive person about what this industry is about. I'd just like to thank you for all of the work you do, mate.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for your time, Allan. I'll talk to you soon.
Good.
See you, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.